Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee and I'm so glad you're here today. The sun's bright, so there's probably going to be reflections. I'm trying to avoid it. I apologize, but I'm not going to complain about sunshine because there hasn't been a lot of sunshine in Michigan and it's beautiful today. So what I'm doing today is I am going to make bread for the week. And I thought I'd bring you along. It's not a fancy recipe. It's called Amish white bread. I don't know if it's an Amish recipe or not. That's just what it was called on Pinterest. And I used to have a lot of struggles making bread. I was very good at killing yeast. So I'm going to show you how I make this bread. It makes 2 loaves, and I use these silicone pans. You don't have to. It's just what I bought when I started making bread a few years ago and having some success, so I've stuck with it. This is a real simple recipe. Sometimes I'll turn it into cinnamon bread or cinnamon rolls, but this makes just a real nice white bread that's perfect for toast and for sandwiches, and it smells great. And I mix 2 at a time, so I throw one in the freezer usually, and then we have bread whenever we need it. So it's worked out well for us. And the other thing I like about it is I used to make the bread all the time, like, during COVID and all that, I was making the bread every week. And then I kind of got out of the habit because it's just as easy to pick it up on the shelf and it's not real expensive. And then I was looking at different ways of saving money, and I also don't want to lose those skills. And I read the white loaf bread, just the kind you get normally and nothing fancy. And there's a lot of stuff in it. I mean, there's a lot of really big words. And bread is like the most basic ingredients. It's flour, water, salt, oil, sugar, or honey. I mean, that's all it is. So you don't need all those additives and chemicals. And I think that's what they add so that it will last for 3 weeks and not get moldy. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing, really. So I've been making our bread every week and a half, depends on how fast we go through it. And I thought I would bring you along and show you how I do it because it's frugal. It is a good skill to learn. It tastes better. It's better for you without having all those additives, is my personal feeling. So come along, let's make some bread. And I'll show you how I finally learned to not kill the yeast, because I was really good at it. I had some real flat flops. So I just have some tap water here that I let the water get hot. And this is what I've learned to do. I use a thermometer and I let it get in there. And you want it to be like under like 110, 108, 105. So this is like 109. So I'm going to add the sugar now. You need some sugar or honey or maple syrup. I'm just going to use some white sugar, but feel free to use a different sweetener if you would like. And it's just 1/4 cup. This recipe had less sugar than some recipes I looked up when I was determined to learn how to make bread. So let's mix this up so that the sugar will dissolve some. The yeast feeds off the sugar, is how I understand it. So I'm going to take the temperature again now. Make sure it's still, over 100. There, it's 101, 102, 3, 4, 5. So we're good. It's not going up real fast. And I forgot to grab my yeast out of the freezer. So let me grab the yeast. Thought I had everything. yeast. I am waiting for a delivery of Red Star Platinum yeast. I love that yeast for making bread. It gives such a perfect texture, but I don't have it today. So what I'm going to do now is add 4.5 teaspoons of the yeast to this water.
I can hear you down here.
4.5 or 2 packets. And we're going to give it a mix. And we're going to let this sit for 5 minutes, and it should get all frothy and foamy, which means the yeast is activated. So, and what I use to make my bread is the Danish hook. I love this thing. It works really well. I do have a KitchenAid, and I've tried it with that, but I learned with this, and this is what I feel best doing it with. So that's what I'm showing you. I'm gonna let this sit right here, and I can see already that there's bubbles forming. Let me see if I can. It's starting, so hopefully it keeps on doing that. We're gonna just leave this here. I wanted to let you know too, I turned the light on in my oven, and I will proof my dough in there, and it works out really well, and it's nice and warm in there but not too warm, and I set it in there for an hour, and I come back and the bowl is filled. So perfect. So I don't know where I read that or heard that, but that's worked real well for me too. I haven't had any problems with the dough rising since I started doing that. So I'll come back in 5 minutes. Okay, thought I was filming and I wasn't. My husband came down. I apologize. I have put 2 cups of flour in here and 1.5 teaspoons of the salt. And I use Redmond's real salt. And I mix this in. You can use up to 5 cups of flour in this recipe. Usually for me it's 4.5 until it doesn't stick on the sides and makes a dough ball. Okay, so it's very soupy right now. We don't want this to be a soupy. So I am scooping more of the bread flour, and like I use bread flour when I'm making my white bread, my sandwich bread. I'm going to add another cup, and I can tell that it's going to use another cup too, so I'm going to measure it into, so this would be my 4th cup. By using bread flour you get a finer texture in the bread. It has more, I think it's protein that makes it stick together and rise and give that chewiness. So see, this is still very gloopy. So I'm going to add half of that cup in. So we're up to 3.5 cups now. And the amount of flour can change based on the temperature, humidity, you know, just how it is in your kitchen. So I keep using the Danish whisk, the dough hook, and scraping the sides. I forgot my oil. 1/4 cup of oil. We will add that in now. Get that mixed in. You can use any kind of oil that you want, avocado, vegetable oil, olive. Usually I add that oil to the water and yeast, so hopefully that doesn't negatively impact this. Boy, he put me off kilter when he came in the room. Bread making isn't something that I grew up with. The closest my mom ever got to it was the frozen loaves, which aren't bad. Okay, we need more flour, so scooping in another cup. I'm not going to add it all, about a quarter cup. See, it's starting to come together now. Still a little gloopy, so add a little bit more. When I first tried to make bread, I just dumped all the flour in. That wasn't real successful. And I am no bread making expert, but I just wanted to show you that I add a couple more teaspoons, that anyone can make bread, and it becomes a fun thing to make and therapeutic. The kneading is, I don't know, makes me really happy to knead and to see the dough come to life, and then to actually have at the end beautiful, or I think they're beautiful, loaves of bread. Now, if you have arthritis or trouble with your hands, you can knead your dough in the KitchenAid mixer. Just trying to get it so it forms into like a dough ball. Bouncing back, and it's not sticking to my finger. So let me mix in that the last bit. It's a little tacky. But I think we're good to start kneading it now. Let me move this out of the way. I am going to clean this counter and I'll be right back. Okay, I got it clean. I'm going to sprinkle flour out. And then get all the dough out of the bowl. It should come out pretty clean. And my hands are clean. And I kind of fold it over, get some of the flour on top. And it's real soft and squishy right now. So we're going to incorporate some of that flour and start kneading. Pushing it away, folding it over. I take my heel of my hand and push on it. You'll notice the bread starts to change texture. It's not as goopy. It starts to be a little stronger. Keep your flour nearby in case you need to add some more if it's sticking to your surface. So the dough should end up being smooth and soft and have a stretch to it, because you've got that gluten activated. I will put the link down below to this recipe. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the bottom of the bowl, and then we're going to put the bread in, flip it over, spin it around. Okay, it's all coated lightly with oil. And now I have a towel. These are like flour sack ones. And I put it in warm water, squeezed it out, and going to wrap it around. Doesn't need to be real tight. But now I am going to tuck that under, put this in my oven. I'm going to set my timer for 1 hour. I have the light on in there. Okay, the timer went off. And take off the towel. Now, this is the fun part. Punch this down. It's quite therapeutic, you know. Now, there's 2 ways of doing this. You can take it out of here, divide it in half, and flatten it out and roll it to put in the, I was going to say cake pan. That's not a cake pan. That's a bread pan. Let me spray both of them. You can spread butter, oil. My husband had. Or you can just cut it in half and put half in each pan and kind of shape it. I've done both ways. Both turn out fine. And then we put it back in the oven to rise for 30 minutes. So let me show you this way, where spread it out some. And then roll it. And if you see, I have the pan here to kind of measure. Put it seam side down. And push it out into the corners. So you can do it that way. Or this one, I will show you. You just put it in. Looks like I didn't divide real evenly in half. So this loaf is going to be a bigger loaf. Smooth it out. Okay. So we're going to have one bigger loaf than the other, and that usually happens to me. I don't want to take some out and put in here because it's nice consistency right now. So I'm going to put these in the oven to rise under the light. I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes. The timer went off. Now, sometimes when I go to pull out from the oven and set them here and preheat the oven, I've had them deflate before, so that makes me a little paranoid. So a lot of times I just turn the oven on to preheat, and it takes 30 minutes about to bake the bread. You want it to be golden brown and to tap and sound hollow. So I'm going to try bringing it out and cross our fingers that it doesn't deflate, because I don't know what I do. It's not supposed to do that. So see how it's just up. The other one is not quite as high, but it will rise more. So I'm going to turn the oven on to preheat to 350 and let these just rise some more. Fingers crossed. Makes me a little nervous. Here is a loaf I made what's left like a week and a half ago. And see, there's the inside and the top, and it gets nice and golden brown. And this is still soft, and I put one loaf in the, let it cool, wrap it in. I have these bags that I purchased on Amazon, and I will double bag one and put it in the freezer. We have a bread box that we keep all our bread in, and I think it keeps it fresh longer. So that's been something that has worked well for us. Okay, it's gonna beep. So I'm gonna put these loaves in the oven and set the timer for 30 minutes. My oven usually needs the full 30 minutes. If it was your first time making it, I would put like 25 minutes. It's better to have to give it 5 minutes or more. And if at 30 it still isn't nice and browned and taps hollow, give it 5 more. So I'm going to put these in, and I will bring you back. The timer has gone off, and they were looking pretty good. See, even the smaller one rose up above. So I'm going to take these over to the counter. I have a rack out, and I'm going to grab some butter, and we are going to take these out, butter the tops, and let them cool. Okay, this is hot. So take it out. See, even the bottom and the edge is all nice and brown. it over. Let's get the other one. Oh, almost forgot these. That would be bad. Turn the oven off. And here's the second loaf. And it's nice and brown too. Actually, this is the smaller one. Would be perfect for sandwiches. So I'm gonna get some butter now. So this makes it nice and shiny, and it softens the top. Let's do the other one. So I'm gonna let them cool. I'm gonna leave the room because the smell drives me crazy. There is nothing like the smell of fresh made bread. And how cheap was that? You know, 4.5 cups of flour, a little bit of sugar, some oil, some salt. I buy the big things of yeast, unless I get the packets of the platinum. You know, it's much more economical and it tastes so much better. I'm not gonna cut into these. I'll show you later. And I showed you the one I baked last week, how it looks in the middle. So I'll show you later on my story, my community channel, how this looks. But thank you for watching how I make bread, how a very unexperienced, not a pro baker at all, can make bread. So you can do it too. It isn't hard. And if you like this video, if you push the like button, it really helps my channel. And subscribe to see more on canning and baking and vintage recipes. I have more of my mom's and grandma's recipes. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. See you next time at Pike Creek Farm.